and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, as the Bulls welcome the Sharks as the two, I wouldn't say South African disappointments, but the two underwhelming teams from South Africa go head to head. And the reason I say that is we expected so much of the Bulls and the Sharks this URC. We looked at those squads and we thought these two teams are going to be the pride of South Africa. These two teams are going to carry the mantle. And whilst I think the Bulls are getting back to where we kind of expected them to play, they've had a very disappointing start to the season. And for the Sharks, they haven't kicked on. You know, we waited for them to get all their Springboks back. What is probably one of the strongest squads in the competition, let alone in South Africa. And we waited for the Springboks to come back and then to start seeing these hugely dominant performances. And it hasn't happened. You know, they've just lost against the Stormers. They drew the week before and they beat the Lions 47 points to 37, but you know, conceded 37 points against the Lions side, which wasn't particularly good. So it's a team that hasn't quite gelled, hasn't quite clicked yet. Up against the Bulls side, who had a very slow start to the tournament, but starts to look much like their best in the last 2 weeks up against the Lions. So it'll be interesting to see if they can continue that sort of momentum up against the Sharks. Before we look at the two sides, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Start with the home side, which is the Bulls. And you'll see there at changing the front row, Gerard Steele coming in and joining Jan Krabbelaar and Jacques van Rooyen. The Sharks front row is very powerful. You know, Oxen Chair, Thomas Latoy, Bongi Manambi, it's a very powerful front row. So you have to be at your best if you want to try matching them. Whilst Steele Bruno Kevin very consistent, you know exactly what you're getting out of them. And it's a very exciting and a very solid and experienced loose trio. You know, like Marcel Coetzee, Arno Botha, Ulrich Lowe, who are pretty much cementing themselves as the loose trio for the Bulls. Zach Burger gets an opportunity to start once again. Ambrose Pierre remains on the bench, and he partners Morné Steyn, who has probably been the form fly half in the South African games over the past 3 games. It's a little bit concerning in terms of the fact that somebody of his age, somebody who's already retired, is running circles around the youngsters that we need to kind of replace and step into his shoes. But that's just how it is at the moment. But Josh Tambwe was one of the best players in the URC weekend last weekend. He's been absolutely explosive, and especially in the number 11. Where he's expected to attack, he's expected to run at players, he's expected to find space, but he's still pretty decent in the air, and he's adding a lot to his game as the sort of season goes by. He's in the wing. Cornel Hendricks has shifted to the other wing. David Creel at fullback, and Harold Forster and Lyle Pooh centre combination. So it's an incredibly experienced for backline apart from the likes of David Creel. But having Cornel Hendricks at the wing, it's an interesting one because it's going to be him up against Makazole and Mapimpi. And you think defensively, that's quite a good way of nullifying what it was the URC player of the month. Off the bench, Bismarck du Plessis, Imperial Mantanzima, Robert Hunt. So Bismarck definitely the anchor of experience in between those two players. Janko Swanepoel and Muller Ace will provide a lot of some X factor as well. And then you've got Ambrose Pierre, Chris Smith, and interesting to see Kanan Moody getting an opportunity off the bench. Still very young in his career, finding his way, being given plenty of opportunity at the moment. For the Sharks, this is how they will line up. Oxen Chair, Bongi Manambi, Thomas Toy, that Springbok front row that we know so well. Branch Krobler, however, comes into the side and adds a little bit of bulk and a little bit of physicality. He's next to Aaron Andrews, been pretty impressive, especially also at line time. I think the Sharks line is pretty decent. Sia Khaleesi, Henko Fenter, Pepsi Buthelezi, and Jake White spoke a lot about the opportunity to play against South Africa's best player. The opportunity to play against the national captain. And kind of sort of shone a spotlight on Sia Khaleesi. And Jake White's very good at being able to deflect the attention away from themselves. He's very good at talking about opposition to try and sort of put more focus on them. What I will say is that I think that, especially if you look at the bench for the Sharks, looking pretty good when it comes to the forwards. Jaden Hendrick continues to start next to Tito Bonilla, who I thought actually played quite well last weekend. I thought that he looks, we know he's a good player, but he looks a nice fit for the Sharks. Their biggest issue last weekend, I found, was the centre combination of Jeremy Ward and Lekanya just didn't work at all, and they have changed that centre combination. Jeremy Ward has dropped out of 23. Maurice Lowe has replaced him, and Lekanya has shifted to outside centre. So probably a more balanced centre combination. As I say, I think Jeremy Ward and Lekanya together last week didn't work as a combination. Dan du Plessis was having a field day. We were waltzing in between that centre combination, and it was a very constant point of attack for the Stormers. Makazole, Mapimpi, Spur, and Corsi and Apelefasi continue to be the back three, so we all know what they're about. It's pace, it's power, it's skills, it's X factor, across all three of them, really. Off the bench, Kieran van Vuuren, Intutuka Mkuna, and Kuta Mkunu. It should be an interesting scrum battle. As I said, I don't particularly think that Intutuka Mkunu has got enough scrummaging talent just yet. We're not seeing what he can do at scrum time, and I think that could be an interesting avenue. I think Robin Hunt has also struggled, to be fair. But Ruben van Heerden dropped out to the bench, and then the big one, Sika Bozanoche is back on the bench, and you've got to think that it'll be a matter of time before he's back and starting. And I personally think he's got everything to push back into that box squad. He's such a nice player when he's playing well. Grant Williams, Curran Bosch. So you've got Springbok squad members, Springbok capped Curran Bosch. Curran Bosch back in the frame. He wasn't involved in the first 3 URC games. A lot of people sitting there saying he's the forgotten son or whatever. He is back and is starting and covering what looks to be fly half with Vercock, can cover wing and centre. So there's a lot of versatility, when you think that Curran Bosch is starting to fly half, can play at fullback as well. Vercock can play in the centres as well as at fullback. So there is that sort of, versatility if they need it. Let me know what you think of the lineups as well as your score predictions down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.